Hanging out with your friends along with meeting new friends just isn't the same anymore. It seems like nowadays people are organizing less and less group activities in real life, and in turn, loneliness is at an all time high. While this is partially a result of our ever increasing reliance on technology for entertainment rather than real activities, I feel it goes much deeper than this on a psychological level. Social media has normalized interacting from a comfort zone behind a keyboard, leading to real interactions becoming far more stressful and fatiguing. On the rare occasion people in our generation do get together in real life, living in the moment and fully embracing the experience just seems to be increasingly difficult. You're most likely wondering how we can improve these shared moments with our friends and acquaintances to be more genuine, and so am I. Figuring out how to embrace these experiences and truly enjoy yourself around other people is extremely important. Today, I'd like to share my thoughts on what's taking away from modern get-togethers, provide some advice on how you can be more present around people, and most importantly, how to grow your circle and make better plans with friends. I'll also be answering some of your questions from my last video towards the end if you stick around. And as per usual, I'd love to hear your thoughts about today's topic in the comments. So, how exactly have group hangouts transformed over time, and how did we get to this awkward, antisocial point in the first place? Well, obviously get-togethers with friends are still fun, but the sense of living in the moment and fully enjoying these experiences has faded. Things aren't the same like they were prior to that thing that happened in 2020, and it seems like there are still major remnants of the isolation we were feeling during that time surviving today. I discussed a lot of the reasons for why we're still so socially distant today in my last video. Check that out if you haven't already. Back in the day, group hangouts used to be the default, not organized events, and now they feel like something that has to be deliberately planned out and justified, and if it doesn't feel worth it, people just cancel. We've collectively lost our tolerance for unstructured time. Just sitting around, doing nothing, letting conversations wander, those moments used to be the hangout. Now, if there isn't a clear activity, people feel restless or disengaged. A lot of the time I get together with my boys, we'll do some sort of planned activity, and then they'll usually head out the second things end and they get bored for more than a couple of minutes. I really miss the days where we sat in that boredom, let the creativity kick in, and figured out something even cooler to do collectively. I remember as a kid when we were bored after school, instead of going home to play games or watch YouTube, we'd always come up with some crazy shit to do. Whether that was riding our bikes downtown and climbing parking garages, inventing some sort of weird game, having a Nerf battle, or just wandering around getting into random stuff, it seemed like the only limit to how much fun we could have in a day was our nightly curfews. Now it feels like modern kids, and especially adults, just can't wait to go home and scroll. And while it's hard to change other people, I think there are certainly some things you can do yourself to make get-togethers more prevalent and meaningful for you and your friends. The first step in improving the quality of your hangs is making them happen in the first place. A big issue with trying to do something with your homies nowadays goes back on what I mentioned earlier. These casual gatherings are now being seen more and more as something of an organized event that takes a lot of effort. My advice here, and what has worked for me, is to start sporadically planning simple hangouts. Like, instead of making a huge deal out of going out to do something, just think of a simple, fun activity to do today or tomorrow, and ask your friends if they're free. Group chats, I must say, are absolutely amazing for this and are usually my go-to. Keeping these gatherings simple and expectations low allows for a lot more of a flexible, fun time that can bring everyone together easily. Some great options for this can include thrifting, bowling, going to a local concert, or even catching a movie. Doing things regularly can really bring friends together, more so than the occasional hang after you haven't seen everyone in months. But now that you have your friends together and you've done something fun, you're probably asking, how do you keep the ball rolling when things begin to slow down? Now, I really believe that if you can get past that awkward moment of, well, what do we do now? That's where the most unique ideas come out and memories get made. As I mentioned, it's difficult to keep the attention of your acquaintances when that void of slight boredom gets opened, and this is where I think it's really important to steer the gathering in a different direction. So, let's say you just went bowling with the boys, and you're all sitting at your place afterwards, mostly everyone scrolling with seemingly no idea of what to do. At this point, just pointing the group in a general direction will spark something. You can bust out a board game or a deck of cards, find that old Nintendo console with Mario Party collecting dust in your closet. You could even propose making dinner or hitting a restaurant, really anything. You or one of your friends will almost certainly find an option that's fun and agreeable out of the things that you mention. I know this is quite simple stuff, but you'd be surprised at how many times I've watched everyone go home from the function after a slight tinge of boredom when I knew we were just starting to settle into a fun evening. With just these easy tips, you can have more frequent and enjoyable times with the homies. Friendships and relationships are extremely important stuff, however they're finite and unfortunately not everlasting. This means that we need to do absolutely everything in our power to strengthen these connections and enjoy things while we have them. Now, little side tangent here, but I also find it quite interesting that people just need to document every aspect of going out nowadays. Whether that's posting the food you eat at the new trendy restaurant on Instagram, not being able to go to a concert without flooding your story with videos, or just feeling the need to share every aspect of your life to the internet, this mindset is seriously preventing people from living in the moment. There's this wonderful quote from Alan Watts from the 1960s that seems to have predicted this shift with consumerism, although I doubt Alan knew how bad this would actually get with the rise of the internet. Quote, "A great occasion is somehow spoiled for us unless photographed, and to read it about it the next day in the newspaper is oddly more fun for us than the original event." And I'm sure all of us can relate to that one. This general mindset has caused some massive issues in places near and dear to my heart, primarily the music scene. Now, I'm heavily into experimental electronic music and absolutely love local shows and small festivals. However, especially with attending some of the larger acts, there's so many people taking videos at the same time that it just takes away from everyone living in the moment, mainly the people recording. People are just so concerned with how their Instagram stories look that they can't even fully enjoy concerts with their friends anymore. As a whole, I really think this is also causing people to look at hanging out differently. Rather than being in the moment, people are thinking about how the experience looks from an outside perspective and an audience point of view. Instead of just being with people, we now feel the need to prove that we were actually with them as well. But I have to say, we can't let any of this get us down, and we certainly can't be wishing for a better time to return. The most important thing we can do here is to learn and adapt with ever-changing systems and keep our heads up while we do so. Alright, as promised, I'd also like to get into responding to some comments from my last video. If you'd like to potentially be in the next, consider leaving a comment. Last video's topic was on modern conversations and what we can do to have better interactions in the real world. Our first comment comes from Runesicle, who says, "I work in childcare, so I'm often interacting with young kids of the new generation who are exhibiting these traits even more strongly than the young adults of our generation. I think your guess that the low quality of conversation is due to phone use is spot on. In my experience, the kids I work with who use their phones, or other devices, for short-form videos and the like, are measurably much harder to interact with compared with those whose digital lives are more restricted. It can be a real challenge to elicit reciprocal conversational engagement from some of these kids. I'll be thinking about the ideas in your video going forward." So, I've been seeing a ton of this rhetoric about Gen Alpha online recently, especially with childcare workers and teachers in public schools. It's been quite frightening to see the effect that early access to short-form media at an early age has been having on these developing brains in real time. It's good, however, to see, though, that the parents are becoming more aware of these effects and restricting access, and I sincerely wish you luck in providing education and care for these kids. Appreciate you for the unique perspective, Rune. Our next comment comes from Jamming, who says, "As someone in the IT world, college taught me how to get the most out of client interviews. A lot of these techniques used I apply to normal conversations, including the why, but not limited to digging deeper into someone's topic or part of it and offering a contrary hypothetical, etc. I've made it a habit that whenever I ask someone how their day/week has been and they answer with good, I say, 'What made it good? Anything noteworthy?' Now, this is another fantastic technique to use with dry responses in conversations. Along with the why method I mentioned last video, I feel like these are some of the more important things you can use to deepen an interaction. I really appreciate your point of view, man." Alright, and I'll give one last comment a read here before we wrap things up for today. Our last one comes from Sai, who shares an example of a dry conversation that they had. There was this one guy that I was really attracted to, so I tried to strike up a conversation with him. It was like talking to a wall. I just lost attraction immediately. And then there's my friends. When I first got to know them, they were legitimately interested in yapping with me. To me, these people will always be much more attractive, in a platonic way though, but I think it still applies, simply because they're actively making an effort to interact. Sai shares a great point here, and this is something to take note of, primarily that putting in the effort to be genuinely curious about someone is infinitely more attractive than looking nice or being able to dress well. And for any of my audience out there that's struggling with relationships or dating, definitely take note of this one. Alright, thank you all so much for watching, and if you'd like to support the mission of Luminarium and join a community of other people just trying to spread some light, consider subscribing or buying me a coffee, links in the description. I also just wanted to say thank you, and I really can't repeat it enough. From the first video on this channel, we managed to hit 1,000 subscribers already, and I still can't even believe that number. That's a lot of people listening to me yap about stuff. But I gotta say, your genuine support of this mission is infinitely inspiring, and until next time, keep your heads up, y'all.